Hi again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Makin Waves, our inside look at Roosevelt University athletics. Well, we are well now into the month of September, and fall sports in full swing here at Roosevelt University for 2025. Starting off with football, and new head coach Bill McCune secured his first victory as the permanent head coach of the Lakers with a thrilling 23-21 back-and-forth win over Quincy University. That was in the senior day season opener at Morris Field. Laker place kicker Mauricio Escudero was named the GLIAC Special Teams Player of the Week after kicking 3 field goals, including a late 36-yarder, which gave the Lakers the lead for good in moving their record to 1-0 for the season. Jack Young Jr. and Cam Davis also added touchdowns for the Lakers. There was also good news as well on the women's soccer front as the Lakers picked up their first ever win as an NCAA program on Sunday with a 5-1 senior day victory over Upper Iowa. The win was sparked by a 3-goal performance from Daisy Garcia, while Cammie Butler and Kenna Wisniewski also added goals as the Lakers outshot the Peacocks in the match 28-3. Turning to men's soccer, the Lakers picked up their first victory of the season on September the 4th with a 1-0 win over Thomas More. Overall, the Lakers getting a win and a tie in their opening week. Goalkeeper Eric Carvajal being named the GLIAC Men's Soccer Defensive Player of the Week. Finally, wrapping up our week in review with women's volleyball, the squad also picking up their first match win of the year with a 3-1 win over Kentucky Wesleyan on September the 6th. That's our look in the week in review on Makin Waves. We'll pause, take a timeout, and come back more on Makin Waves.
From our first day, Roosevelt has been a place for all. Before it was widely accepted, Dr. Edward Sparling stood for social justice. When asked to take a racial and religious census, he simply responded, "We don't count that way." And 62 faculty members walked out with him. Together, they founded Roosevelt University, a place for you to belong.
Joined on this edition by Roosevelt University men's soccer coach Paddy Hoepp. And Coach, thanks for joining us as another season now is fast approaching.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Very excited to be here.
Well, the natural place to start is to look back a little bit to last season. What a season it was, historic in every sense of the word. First season as an NCAA team, first season as a GLIAC team, and you go right to the top for a regular season championship and then a close loss in the conference championship tournament game. But overall, again, a historic season for you.
Yeah, no, it was a super exciting season. You know, first year NCAA Division II, first year in the GLIAC. Yeah, it was definitely a special year for us, for sure. And we're looking forward to this upcoming season as well.
I know there's never an off season for a coach, but afterwards, did you get at least a little bit of time to look back and kind of savor the success you had last year?
Yeah, no, I think that's in our footprint. We like to do reflection. You know, obviously, this past season was one of those. We didn't really know what to get into. You know, GLIAC was a new conference for us. D2 was a different ball game for us. So, you know, we reflected on it, and I think the biggest thing we reflect on was we wanted to be ourselves, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of the new conference that we're playing in. And we wanted to put our own footprint on the GLIAC, and I would say we successfully did that.
A footprint in a huge way last season with a regular season conference championship. Was wondering through the offseason this year and looking ahead to this season, was there a point last season where you knew you had something special going on and that you knew you had a team that could take home some championship hardware?
Yeah, I mean, this last year was year 3. I think regardless of the change in terms of NCAA, you know, I knew personally we had something special going with the group and the players that we were bringing in and the culture we were trying to build. And, you know, you want to improve from year to year. So regardless of that NCAA change, you know, I knew we have a competitive side. And I mean, in every season you go through, now from talking from my personal experience as a head coach, there's always ups and downs. You know, the GLIAC is a tough conference. I think for us, the big change was having 2 games on a weekend, Friday, Sunday. If you look back at our schedule too, it was definitely hard for us to adjust because oftentimes we were only to be able to win 1 game. But I think we had a good team meeting and reflected in the middle of the season, sat down, what do we need to do to get 6 points out of a weekend? And we were very strong at home last year, and we had a good run towards the end of the year. and just things started to keep clicking, and we just had that momentum. And the boys, they just put in the effort every single session, and we were consistent with what we were doing. And I think that was ultimately the recipe for us last year to have success.
Going back to the NAIA days, and I believe if my memory is correct, the schedule was usually Tuesday or Wednesday, then a Saturday match, whereas as you pointed out a moment ago, different story in the GLIAC. Very quick turnaround. Was that a major adjustment to make?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially we had teams that we played against. Sometimes they were fresh. They only had one game per weekend. But just, with the load, also the travel, oftentimes we forget about that, right? Student athletes, we're on the road all the time. You drive 6 hours up to St. Cloud, then you have a travel day, you go all the way up to Northern Michigan. But to be honest, I think those were the moments when you go through a weekend like that. I specifically remember that weekend at Northern Michigan, very tough place to go to, very good program, playing there on a grass field, and we got the 3 points. That was kind of a moment, that brings a group together. And I think, reflecting back on that, again, it makes it tougher, but in some ways it's also opportunities. We always look for opportunities, and I think those weekends away and playing 2 games on a weekend, I mean, the reward of it, getting a result there and even 2 results, I think it's even bigger.
Typically with a quick 2-day turnaround, that day in between, would you usually give the team that day just to have off? And I would suspect that one of the challenges of that quick turnaround is that you don't get any practice time between games, or very little if you do have some.
Correct. I think that the biggest challenge, or what we learned, again, it's part of the learning curve and the learning process in the GLIAC and the schedule change is how do you navigate through that day off, And I think even if you win a game on a Friday or you lose a game on a Friday, you got to have that mental switch again, and you got to immediately prepare for the next opponent. So again, also was a lot of learning for us. How do we structure that day? Obviously, it's not a day off physically, but we do have recovery. Obviously, that's very important. And then we as coaches have a great staff that puts in the effort to, again, give the players the best possible resources, again, for the next game. And it's very important, that you have that switch off right away.
And you mentioned the travel. Logistics completely different in the GLIAC last year as opposed to, again, back in the days of the Chicagoland Collegiate Athletics Conference where, yes, there were road games, but mostly they were just a day drive to the game and then you come back. Or, again, a totally different ball game in the GLIAC for travel.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, again, wherever you go, the travel is further. But again, it's all in perspective. How do you view things? How do you go into it? And I think that's part of the D2 experience in general, right? The infrastructure, you play further away, yes, but again, I think that's what student athletes want. They want that. They want to be on the road. They want that's time to bond together, to spend special moments. And again, we've been enjoying those rides so far, even though they're time sensitive. Time demanding and take a lot out of your week. But at the end of the day, it makes collegiate athletics special.
One thing I've always been struck by remembering last season, and that is the similarity between the last regular season game where there was so much on the line and the conference championship game in the tournament. Very similar situations. When you went through that period, did it seem like you were going through a little bit of a deja vu when you got eventually to the championship of the tournament, the championship round of the tournament?
Yeah. No, like I said, the GLIAC is a very strong conference. Every conference team brings something different, has a different style. And again, example, Saginaw or Davenport, we played them 3 times, last year. And again, that provides challenges in terms of, hey, how do you prepare for the game? What do you take a different approach to the game tactically? What do you change? So again, it keeps us as coaches on our toes as well, And again, what we love about the conference, every game is a battle, and every team is well prepared. Coaches in the conference are very good. So it always makes you think outside the box. What else can we adjust? What else do we need to do? What's our game plan? So I think again provides unique circumstances.
When you were going through that second half of the last regular season match where you knew you would be able to pull into a tie and then win the tiebreaker to get the conference regular season championship, it was a tough, hard-fought match. What was your thought process when you look back during the second half of that game? It had to have been a little bit of a tightrope walk for you down the stretch in that match.
Yeah, I think one of the pillars we strive by is adaptability, right? Again, you play different opponents on different surfaces at different times and in different moments. Soccer is a game of moments, and we usually are have been not in a situation like that where we're down, a man, and again, but I think that was also a key moment of the season where we showed the resilience of the group, how tight they were together, how much they wanted to win that championship, how much it meant to them. And I think those moments are really crucial for every season. You go through that, and being a man down against Sagana at home, to win the league or co-win the league. I think again it showed so much about the group, about their resilience, about their character, and again looking back was definitely a special moment.
Then turning to the championship game, wound up a little bit of a heartbreaking defeat, going to PKs. I've always wondered, from a coaching standpoint, is it a little bit different when you're on the sidelines during PKs? Because it seems to me, and again, I'm looking at this from more of an amateur standby or a bystander viewpoint. It seems that there's a lot less in your control than PKs than during regular time. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I even believe when you look at PKs, right? Like you can practice them in training, but when the game comes and you're actually in that moment with fans around, with the nerve-wracking moments, with being a championship really on the line, and you're in that moment stepping up, it takes courage to do so. And of course, this was our second championship in a row. Where we lost in PKs even the year before in the CCAC. And those are moments, I mean, again, we praise the guys to take the courage to take the PKs. What comes out of it, the outcome is oftentimes not controlled. But again, maybe it was meant to be, because I think it could be a goal for us this year, maybe to win that tournament,
Does the lack of control when you either win or lose in PKs affect your outlook on the outcome of the match?
No, not at all. I mean, it's a different moment of the game. I thought we played a fantastic game. This final, and to be honest with you, again in these moments, guys stepping up, taking a PK, taking themselves in front of the team, it takes courage, and oftentimes there's luck involved too, and Sagana that day just had the better PKs, and we hit the post, so part of the game.
Well, looking ahead now, you have another season coming up. Again, there's no off season for a head coach, but even so, the regular season now is coming up quick. How do you feel about your team going into the season here in 2025?
Very excited, out of multiple reasons. I think, number one, we have a fantastic returning group coming in, with key players that have been part of this journey last year. Name a few, with Lucas Swinton, Noah Vasilev, Eric Cavajal, a healthy Carlos Fernandez. So I'm really looking forward to have a core group returning. In addition, obviously, it's exciting when you bring in new players as well. You always have to compensate guys, but I think this year we're excited for the balance of players we're bringing in terms of age, experience. We got a good group of young guys coming in, very talented, very hungry. We're already seeing that in the first few days in training. But then also, to compensate big players like Gabriel Koenig, Nick Hillian. We brought in some guys that we believe can compensate those holes that they're gonna leave, and just really excited for this group.
As always, there's usually a real good mix of veterans and, of course, newcomers, new recruits to the team. I got to believe that last year's experience is going to be a real good foundation for the veterans to kind of mentor the new players to get them through those times when there's going to be pressure situations throughout the season. And trying to repeat as a conference champion. I believe got to believe that the veterans will be a huge help in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think that's why I'm really excited for it. We got a great group, great leaders, great seniors. I know a lot of guys that are anxious to play their last year of college. And then I think that's so important when you bring in a young group, as you mentioned, the mentorship, the leadership, to continue to develop that team culture and make sure it's always intact, right? Freshmen coming in, they know what's expected by the seniors setting the standards. Standards is a big word that we're using in our identity. So that's something we're striving for every day, and we hold the leaders accountable. We're giving them the platform to lead, and hopefully, they will have a positive impact, which I'm pretty certain for. And then seeing what those young guys learn from them, vice versa as well, right? But continue to develop that team culture.
Does last year's success change your perspective at all as you go into this season with respect to the rest of the conference? Because in a way now, the secret's out that Roosevelt University is going to have to be a force to be reckoned with. You know that teams will be coming after you this season, and does that change your perspective at all as you go in?
To be completely honest with you, I think we're very process-driven here. We are realistic. I mean, winning the CLIAC last year, we know how big the demand was. A lot of things have to go your way too. But we just want to continue to stay true to ourselves, continue to develop that footprint that we left off. Again, we're very process-driven here. So we want to focus on the daily task. We want to get better every day. We're huge on reflection. We have identified a few areas that we want to grow in, want to get better in. So I think that's just still our focus. We're realistic too. We're still a very young team in the CLIAC. So, to do what we did last year, would be fantastic. But also, we know the demand of the conference. We know how good teams are. Teams are always going to recruit. They're going to get better, trying to do the same thing. So we are realistic at the same time. Obviously, last year was great to shape us. And we're striving always for the max, but with a process-driven mindset.
One thing I'm curious to ask about, and that is that you talked last year, you knew going in that you thought the team could do something special. And what I'm wondering is, are you able to determine that during preseason practices? Are you able to see the players, even though they're not necessarily in game mode, are you able to see the players and how they interact on the practice, during the practice? And does that give you an idea of what you'll have to go through as a team for the upcoming season?
Yeah, as you mentioned before, right? There's so much. There's not really an off season per se for us coaches. Even the spring season we take serious. We had very good competitions playing against UIC and NIU, two very good D1 programs. So we identified really what we need. We have a clear idea of how we want to play. That's also how we're gonna recruit. Obviously, there's a lot of factors that come involved. How do the new guys adjust, right, to the team culture? How do they fit in? Also seeing them in games, then in a real competitive environment, how do they implement their style? And I think there's so many elements that come to it that you can't really predict that. But I think we have a clear idea. So far, everybody's pulling on the same string, which is important. And, the exhibitions will show, the non-conference games will show how far we are as a team, how much are we prepared, and then there's so many moments within the season that really define, your season, your group. But it's all about consistency, showing up every day to training, setting the standards very high on a daily basis, and then going into the games. And like I said, you have so many good programs in this conference. So many things have to go right for you. And again, we wanna stay true to who we are and deliver that on a daily basis.
You mentioned non-conference games. That has to be a real testing ground, isn't it, to see how your team is progressing as you head into the all-important conference season?
Yeah, and I think the ups and downs are important. We had last year a lot of down moments too, where we not necessarily got the outcome that we wanted to, or we thought we deserved, or whatever it is. But I think again, it's a season. There's so much diversity, and it's necessary for the group to come closer together, for us to really think about, hey, what do we need to do better? What do we need to change? So many defining moments, that make a whole season. I think that's why we use the word process a lot, because it's ups and downs. There's never a season where you just go up and you're going to stay there. And again, those downs are very important, those moments, to get the team closer together, to face that adversity together, to grow together, and then from there learn and prepare for the next match.
Paddy Hoepp, men's head soccer coach here at Roosevelt University, joining us on this edition of Makin Waves. Coach, thanks for joining us, and good luck as the season approaches.
Thank you so much.
The GLIAC is the Conference of Champions. Since its inception in 1972, GLIAC teams have won 53 national championships and countless more individual championships.
Throughout the GLIAC, passionate fans come support our athletes in 21 NCAA-sponsored sports.
Just as important as being champions on the field.
The pool.
The court.
The course.
The track.
GLIAC student athletes are champions in the classroom and the community.
The GLIAC is.
The GLIAC is.
The GLIAC is.
The Conference of Champions.
joined now by Trinity Kelly, former Roosevelt University softball standout, current graduate assistant here at RU. And Trinity, thanks for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
Well, the summer goes quickly. In fact, now the last couple of days, there's been a hint of fall in the air. The coaches and players starting to ramp up, and that applies as well to grad assistants, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. Yesterday we had a whole grad assistant meeting with everybody in the department, so got to get to know a lot of new faces, and it's been exciting for the last couple of days.
When you're preparing for the season right now in your current role, how does having played softball now for, it was 3 years, I believe, how does that help you in your duties as a grad assistant now? I believe you're going into your second year as a grad assistant.
Yeah, I think it kind of takes a lot of prep, and with softball, you kind of do a lot of preparation and, take time to get to know your teammates and your whole coaching staff. And I think that's the same with the grad assistant role. I have to get to know my student workers, get to know my other GAs, and kind of make a game plan for what this year is going to look like.
Looking back a little bit, first off, on your softball career, were there one or two moments that stand out for you during your time on the field here at Roosevelt?
Yeah, I really enjoyed a lot of things that happened on the softball field, a lot of outside the field, good trips to Florida with the girls. I really cherished just the friendships I made here at Roosevelt. That's kind of why I came back. On the field, I had some pretty good games. One, I remember against, I think it was Cornerstone. I think I went 3 for 4, and it was a great day. Yeah,
it's always a great day when, like you said, 3 for 4. Especially in softball, those days don't come often. So when you have those kind of days, you try to enjoy them as much as you can, don't you?
Oh, of course.
I've noticed the last couple of years your presence at games, and really you have to have a lot of different skills. I know you've been in a lot of different situations. Sometimes you're running the music. Other times you're working other game operations. It's really quite a varied skill set for you, isn't it, in your current situation?
Yeah, for sure. I've had to really stretch myself and learn how to put myself out there and be uncomfortable. We're really adapting new game so hosting games during the middle of the game is kind of awkward, and talking to student athletes that are in the stands and other people, and just a lot of behind the scenes that you don't realize that's going on. I kind of help out with that, and it kind of is a new thing that I'm learning how to do and feel comfortable with.
How has it been as far as a learning experience goes, learning the ins and outs of game operations? We were talking a couple of weeks ago on our first edition with Sports Information Director Josh Walfish, and we were talking about game operations, and it is an involved effort, isn't it? It's not a case where everybody just shows up and, all right, the game starts and everybody enjoys it. There's a lot of work, a lot of prep that goes into it, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that nobody really sees. It goes from everybody from the student workers that come in every game day to the grad assistants to head athletic director. Everybody kind of has things going on, whether you see it or not. So it's a whole working ship, and it's awesome because you don't realize it. And at the end of the day, you just play basketball or play softball, and it's just a good time.
Each game as well, each sport has a different, I don't know if the skill set is the best word to use, but it has its different kind of parameters. It's the same for broadcasting. It's the same for the players. Different sports require different things, and that has to have been kind of I get the impression, a fun part of the job as well, the variety that, for me, no game is the same. No two games are alike. Every game is different. That's why I look forward to broadcasting every game. Is it kind of the same in your situation as well?
Yeah, for sure. You always have to be on your toes during game pres and game operations. Basketball's a lot different than soccer. Basketball, we're trying to put on a show and really get the crowd involved, and there's a lot of timeouts and a lot of dead space, so we have to fill that dead space. Soccer, it's kind of you're always going, the music can only do so much, and the fans are into it no matter what, so it's kind of just varies from game to game.
If I may ask, what is the path going from being an athlete on the field to being a grad assistant?
It's very interesting. I've done a lot of internships. I've worked in a lot of different fields. I actually studied psychology in my undergrad, so I've looked at many routes, and just I've tried to kind of picked where I've worked best and going from sports, going from being an athlete to working in athletics, it's a little bit of a mindset change, because instead of I have to produce and I have to perform, I have to help other people produce and perform.
There's a little bit different kind of a pressure, isn't there? When you're at the plate and you come up with the bases loaded or runners on second and third, maybe 2 out, and you're kind of telling yourself, all right, I got to convert here. And it's similar, I would suspect, in a game operations and in a grad assistant standpoint, but different, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. In that situation, a lot of things in softball, it's like if I succeed right there and then I'm successful. But a lot of things in game pres is a lot of preparation, and it will be successful if you work on it. And if it takes me a week or a couple months, then it's going to be successful. But a lot of softball, it's like I have to swing this bat and hope it goes over, and kind of like it's there and then.
Is there any part of the job right now that you especially would call your favorite?
I do enjoy a lot of parts of the games, and just the whole job in general. I think just the people in the area, I think, makes it the best. Working with Kyle and Josh and Mike and all the new GAs, just the people just make it everything it is. Learning coaches and learning their style of the game and how they want their game presented. It's very interesting. I really enjoy that.
How has a grad assistant in your mind prepared you for your eventual career path down the road?
I think it's really prepared me. I feel like it's a lot like a normal job. I'm respected as if I'm an actual employee. And I'm full-time employee here. I have a lot of responsibility. It took me a while to get there. Last year was definitely a learning period for me, but this year I really feel like this is just a job, and hopefully after I graduate this year, I'll have a lot of experience that people want to hire me for.
Would you want to stay in the athletics realm as far as a profession goes down the road eventually?
Yeah, I definitely would. Just like past experiences that I've had with the Chicago Sky and Athletes Unlimited, and then also with the Roosevelt, just makes me realize that sports is where I need to be, whether it's in game operations or in any other realm.
All right. Well, Trinity Kelly, thank you very much for joining us here on this edition of Makin Waves. And it looks like you're already raring to go for the season, and we'll be, I'm sure, chatting as the games go along.
Of course. Thanks, Tom.
From our first day, Roosevelt has been a place for all, an incubator for inconvenient ideas, an origin point for change, and above all else, a place for you to belong.
Welcome back to Makin Waves, as now we wrap things up for the week with a look at the week ahead for Roosevelt Athletics. Starting with men's soccer, the Lakers will play their home opener on September the 10th. It'll be a non-conference matchup against Missouri St. Louis at Morris Field in Arlington Heights, and it'll be a 6 p.m. start. Then they continue with another non-conference matchup on Saturday night at St. Xavier University. For women's soccer, just one match on tap this week as the Lakers will be on the road at Thomas More on Saturday, September the 13th. The women's volleyball team will continue their schedule with 4 matches facing Bemidji State, Winona State, and Missouri S&T on Friday before wrapping up the week on Saturday against McKendree. And finally, for football, the Week 2 schedule has the Lakers once again at home at Morris Field. That'll be for a non-conference matchup against Southwest Baptist, and kickoff slated for 1 p.m. at Morris Field. That's another edition of Makin Waves, our look at Roosevelt University athletics. Thanks for watching, and until next time, so long.